have Coke Zero? No, we have Pepsi Max. All right, yeah, let me. So that is what Pepsi is in most of the consumer's mind, actually. But yeah, really great example. But we have so many of those too, right? So if you fail to ignore your customers' wants or demands, you will fail too. Okay, another good example, Nokia, probably you all know like Nokia phones, right? So, and Nokia at some point had more than 20% of, actually close to 30% of market share all over the world in phone market, mobile phone market.
Only 30?
Yeah, I think at some maximum they had 32.
That was higher than that.
No, the maximum I think, yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but I checked several times. 32 or something is when they're at their prime. Then they started to lose market share. But even 32%, it's crazy because right now, Google, like the iPhone, they have like around 10, even like a bit less than 10, because they had maximum 12 or something. Samsung never reached 20% all around the world, right? But these guys, so many years, dominated the mobile phone market, but they disappeared. And of course, you can find like so many reasons for this, the competition and everything. To me, I think one of the biggest mistakes they made was ignoring customers' wants and demands. So a simple question, if you remember Nokia phones, what was the most time spent feature on Nokia phones?
Snake.
Because all their slides. That's why I don't like to share my slides. Right? That's the problem. So, but you all have my slides. I need to change somehow.
No, genuinely, it was the snake game.
Yeah.
I remember playing it at uni.
Yeah. No, I mean that because I use this example so many years. It's always works. In different countries, different classrooms, undergrad, MSCs, and everything. They always give, even if right, our undergrad students, they're like 18, 19 years old, they still know about Snake. Right? It was so popular, that popular game, and it's only like a two-dimensional screen, right? And like very small. Look at the screen size. And we were playing like Snake all day long, crazy, right? So trying to fill out the whole screen with the Snake and stuff. And Nokia missed that opportunity.
It's still the ringtone on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Nokia missed that big opportunity because they never focused on that entertainment part of it.
Yeah.
To create value for customers. They think that, okay, we are in mobile phone business, we need to give them different options. So, and I mean, I was working in my undergrad, since I like engineer and stuff, I was working in a mobile phone company in Turkey. They were the distributors of Samsung at the time. Samsung has a really famous phone, E250, and they were selling that phone really in a good volume. And they were doing a lot of market research. And Nokia was also doing a lot of market research. And whenever we ask people like, what do they want in their mobile phone, that's why I quoted Henry Ford and Steve Jobs first, because most of the customers, they don't know what they can have in a mobile phone, right? They will keep telling us like, bigger screens, smaller keyboards, and that type of stuff, right? So, or the long charging time, like battery time and everything, right? So short charging time, long battery time. And they were the same answers we got again and again. We were sharing this with the engineering, but that's why Nokia actually produced so many different versions of small phones, big phones, different keyboards and everything. It didn't work because they missed the big picture. They couldn't create value, and in this case, value was coming in and entertainment shape. They couldn't actually embed this feature of gaming and music afterwards. I don't have it here, but just search for the first launch, iPhone launch in 2007. Steve Jobs, when he launched the iPhone, he says very simple things. He says that since, like I said, iPod was a really popular product at the time, he says, you like your iPod, yeah, you like your smartphone, and he puts a plus between iPod and a smartphone, and he says, I'm giving you iPhone. It's iPod and mobile phone, and people just go crazy. Wow, that's an amazing product. That is that simple. And that is what they focused on. And later, what Apple did, Apple also integrated gaming industry into a phone. But while they are doing it, they did a business, like a really good business strategy. They said that, you know what, we are a tech company, right? We cannot actually create music or other stuff, or we cannot create games. We don't have enough resources or expertise, and we cannot buy some companies for that. Let's be a marketplace. Let's get other people another channel to sell their product, music or games. And that was very clever. Nokia never did that too. Nokia tried to produce a couple of games, but they are not a gaming company, right? So they don't have resources or capabilities to compete with other gaming companies. And that's how Apple is still surviving, because we have Apple Music, we are using Apple Store and then downloading all the games and stuff. Even if Apple charged 30% commission, even more from those game developers, people still need them because millions of people around the world, maybe like billion, I don't know the exact number, still using some sort of, one version of iPhone. Right? It doesn't have to be latest version. Yeah.
And why did BlackBerry fail?
Blackberry is actually, there was a documentary, a movie actually, not documentary,
it's a
but
movie,
Blackberry.
yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, I'd like to watch it too. So, Blackberry, basically they failed because of the competition, right? Because they couldn't build on that. First of all, they came up with the keyboard, and people think that that's really nice for like messaging and then emailing and stuff.
And for business.
For business people, right, so the corporate one. But it wasn't enough for them because iPhone easily caught up with them, right? So, and the Samsung later brought the same thing as well, and they couldn't compete with these big companies, right? So they actually failed because of the competition in general.
They also were locked down. So if you were building
Privacy issues,
applications, it was very difficult to get your app into a BlackBerry. It was a piece of piss to get it into an Apple. And I think it was actually easier to get it into the later stuff when it happened to the Google stuff. It was almost impossible, almost a lockdown environment because they didn't want to share the BlackBerry world.
I think for the operating system, if you look at the phones, they're like iPhone, iOS operating system, and the rest of the phones are relying Google for like Android
Yeah, it's all
operating
Android.
system, right? Because it is also another dimension of it, right? So how the game developers or other developers can embed their product into it. When we say this, like Microsoft, Outlook, everything, because if you're a professional, you like to have this easy integration and stuff, right? So that's why they failed in the competition. They couldn't actually compete with the Samsung and iPhone. But now there are like two emerging brands coming from China, Huawei and Xiaomi, I think. So they are increasing their market share. So in a few years, I believe like a Samsung will have trouble because of that competition as well. Because nowadays it is easy to replicate all those features, right? So product, like having that cool features is not enough. So Apple has an edge on that because they still have really good brand image and brand equity in general, but they cannot rely on technology because let's accept Google, like Apple's technology are not the state of the art, right? So you can always find a better technology offering from Samsung, but still people choose Apple, even for the computers, right? So those computers are not the fastest in the market, they are not the best, but you can see so many people actually still buy them because of that symbol, right? So, and I'm going to talk about that different values from the product side as well. Yeah.
It's value creation and I don't want to say peer pressure, but I got an Apple because all my friends had an Apple back in 2009. Before that, I had the Nokia. Does that come into this value creation, or is that another part?
No, this is like additional. Actually, this is coming from the product itself based on their strategy. They started to look at how can we differentiate, right? Because Apple didn't have the first touch screen feature. They didn't have the first internet smartphone feature. They weren't first in any of those, right? But they still, got in there with this new value proposition, right? So because we are selling iPods, we are really good at that. And if you watch or just read Steve Jobs, one of the Steve Jobs biographies, you can see how much time he spent to build this integration, music industry into a phone. Because I'm sure there's also another TV show, that's why I start with the TV shows and the movies. On Netflix, they are talking about Spotify. If you have time, please watch it and you can understand the value of this market better, because they were a small startup from Sweden, and all of the music producers are like, are you crazy? You are still selling CDs and stuff. You are relying on hardcore, these tangible products. You are talking about streaming, and we have this pilot website. They are just streaming, stealing our music, and they are selling it for free. They are not even selling it. And Apple, Steve Jobs actually, with his own private jet, convinced big music producers and say that, listen, we are Apple, we are going to be behind it, we are going to protect it, and we will create you another revenue stream. And that is how they actually became successful in the iPod, right? So because you were actually able to buy each song for 99 cents at the same time, right? So they weren't any streaming services. Then they create this, Apple Music, etc. afterwards. But it's all about the value creation itself. That's why when they launched, they said iPod plus phone, iPhone. But what you are saying is really important part. We are going to come to that. Those are some intangible benefits or intangible features that we get from the products, like status symbol or like social aspects of it and everything.